Les verbes réguliers en ER. Alright, by the end of the presentation, you should be able to identify the proper steps for conjugating regular ER verbs. You should know how to correctly conjugate them, and you should be able to describe your preferences, which is a concept that you will need for your upcoming essay. Before I get started, remember you can always pause the presentation and rewind as needed. Verbs. Okay, remember verbs describe what people do. Some examples are to study, to live, to watch. Notice it has that to in front of your root word there. Okay. Verbs can also be conjugated, not just in French or Spanish or German or Italian, but in English too. We conjugate verbs every day. In every sentence that, has a subject and verb, we're conjugating it. Les règles, the rules. How do you conjugate regular ER verbs? Remember, you're taking notes Cornell style. So your question would be this here, and the response to it on the right side would be all three steps here. So how do you conjugate regular ER verbs? How do you do that, Thierry? Well, very first thing you're going to do is write your subject. What are your subjects? In case you've forgotten, I have them here in parentheses for you. Je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle. Another one I'm throwing in here is qui, which means who. And then you can also put someone's name. Okay, someone's name can replace any of those subject pronouns there in French. Step 2, Michelle, is to drop the ER from the infinitive. What is your infinitive? Your infinitive is your unconjugated verb, such as parler right here. This is your infinitive. Then your third step, Alexandra, is to add the new ending, which corresponds to each subject pronoun. Okay, what endings are you talking about? Well, we'll look at that on the next slide. Les terminaisons. En français, on dit les terminaisons. The endings. Okay. Olivier, our endings are going to be es, ons, ez, ent. That's why you'll notice I make corrections in some of your notes. You always, when you're conjugating, you always start with je, then tu, il, elle, nous, vous, and the plural il, elle. You have to keep it in that order. Otherwise, you'll not learn your endings the right way. Okay, so anytime you see je, after you take off the ER, you're going to add an E. Every time you see tu, ES. E, O-N-S, E-Z-E-N-T. And a few years ago, some of my cheerleaders came up with the cheer. E, E-S, E, O-N-S, E-Z-E-N-T. One more time. E, E-S, E, O-N-S, E-Z-E-N-T. Okay, so, if it helps you, it helps. If not, it's okay. Okay, an example. I've given you two verbs here using those steps. Alright, now let me go ahead and show you what I mean. Okay, step 1 said to write the subject. So we have that. The je, the tu, the il, elle, so on and so forth. That's all step 1. Okay, step 2 said to write the infinitive. Okay, parler, which we did. When you do that, step 3, well, the other part of step 2 says to drop that ER. Okay, and you're left with the stem. So that's your part 2. Everything there in black, parle. Step 3, you're adding the green part, which is your endings. E, E-S-E, O-N-S, E-Z-E-N-T. The sooner you memorize these endings, the more success you will have in this course. E, E-S-E, O-N-S, E-Z-E-N-T. Okay? Étudier follows the same format. The only thing is, with the je form, we had to use J apostrophe. Why? Can anybody think of the right answer? Leah, can you? Well, if you said that there's that vowel there, you're absolutely correct. So we had to take that E off and put an apostrophe so that it wouldn't collide with this one. Okay? J'étudie, tu étudies, il, elle étudie, nous étudions, vous étudiez, ils étudient, elles étudient. Okay, what does this all mean, madame? J'étudie has 3 different meanings. I study, I do study, I am studying. Okay, I study, I do study, I am studying. You need to be able to tell me the three meanings of each conjugation. The to form will be you study, you are studying, you do study. He studies, he does study, he is studying. Notice there is no separate word for do, there is no separate word for am. Okay? More examples. Regardez. In the negative, in case you've forgotten how to do the negative, we're using the same steps. All we did was sandwich your conjugated portion around ne pas. Okay? Je ne regarde pas. I'm not watching. I'm not looking at. Tu ne regardes pas. Elle ne regarde pas. So on and so forth. More examples. Okay? Préféré, you might want a star, and the reason why is because of these accents here. On the infinitive, they are both accent aigu. However, when we conjugate it in the boot, only in the boot, your accents are going to go as this. One accent aigu, one accent grave. However, for your nous and vous, they follow the infinitive. They're both accent aigu. Everybody see that? That's why I color-coded it. So we have accent aigu, accent grave. Okay? Préfère, 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 préférons, préférer, préfère. The verb aimer. I'm sorry, glad I caught that. It's not to study, it's to like. To like. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so you have j'aime, tu aimes, il, elle aime, nous aimons, vous aimez, ils, elles aiment. Okay, same step. You have your subject. You drop your ER from your infinitive. You're left with the root or the stem. And then in green, you have step 3, the ending that corresponds. Okay? Again, I know I may be going fast, but hey, take a break, do a pop quiz. What are the steps that we just learned that we have to use when conjugating regular ER verbs? Question number 2. What are the endings for regular ER verbs? Go ahead and pause, write down your answers. And here are the answers. Okay, what are those steps? Well, you're going to write your subject. You're going to drop the ER from the infinitive. Remember the example I gave you was parler. That is your infinitive. It is not conjugated. How do you know it's not conjugated? Well, it ends in ER. That means it's not conjugated. Okay, so you're going to drop that ER. You're left with your stem. And then step 3, add the new ending. What are those endings, madame? Glad you asked. E, E-S-E. O-N-S, E-Z, E-N-T. Okay? Don't just memorize the chant. You need to also, at this point, know what these subject pronouns mean. Every last one of them, you need to know what the subject pronouns mean. Okay? If not, might need to make some flashcards. All right, describing your preferences, something you need to do for that essay. Okay, can you use more than one verb in the same sentence? Can you do that? Can you? What do you think, Sebi? The answer is yes. Okay, and I've given you 3 examples here. I like. Like is verb number 1. To sing is verb number 2. All right. We don't love to draw. Love is verb number 1. To draw is verb number 2. They prefer to clean. Verb 1. Verb 2. So it is possible. Okay, now let's show you how to do that in French. J'aime chanter. I like to sing. Notice we conjugated the first verb. However, you do not conjugate the second verb. If you have more than one verb going to the same subject, you are going to conjugate the first verb, but not the second verb. You see how here, I like, we started with our infinitive there. We dropped our ER, left with your stem, and we added on the E. Okay? Chanter, to sing. We didn't have to do anything. You just wrote chanter as it is. Okay? We don't love to draw. Nous n'adorons pas dessiner. We sandwich the don't part around the love. Okay? Our verb was adorer. We dropped our ER, added ONS to our stem. Don't do anything to dessiner. Same thing with prefer. Remember, this part is in the boot, so your accents go aigu and grave. Okay, ENT ending, and just write nettoyer. Ger, sir, and your very quickly. With your ger and sir verbs, there's one slight change in the new form only. New form only. Everything else follows the same steps that we just talked about. All right, so with the new form in ger verbs, instead of just adding ons, you're actually adding eons, and that's for pronunciation purposes. Nageons, nageons. If you didn't have that e there, it would be pronounced nagon, which is incorrect. So you need the e. Anytime you have a ger verb, you will need to add eons. Okay? Other verbs on our list were voyager and manger. Sir verbs, again, you need to add a cedilla only in the new form. Commençons. Without the cedilla, it would be commençons. That's incorrect. Okay? Anytime you have the letter E after the C, it's automatically going to sound like an S, okay? However, we have an O. If you look at all the conjugations there, every last one of them has an E after the C, except for the new form. So that's how you can remember to add the cedilla there. Your verbs are special because in the boot, Y changes to an I. Y changes to an I. New and vous, however, your Y stays the same. Y stays the same. Okay? Checking your understanding. Go ahead and take a pause. Flip back through your notes. See how well you do. Alright, here are your answers. Nous mangeons. Remember, we've got a ger verb here. It is in the new form. So we're going to drop that ER. Here's our stem. Only with new form in ger verbs, only ger verbs now, only ger verbs, we added eons. Okay, remember key. Key, if you flip back to your charts, you notice that it follows the same rules as the EOL singular form. So we drop our ER, add the letter E to our stem. Balayer, it is a your verb, however, it's the vous form. So the Y stays the same. All we did was add EZ. Tu aimes dessiner. We did not conjugate the verb. Why? Well, that's because we already conjugated the first verb, aimer. So, do you like to draw for your friends? Okay, écoutez. Drop your ER. Here's your stem. All we needed was the E ending. Henri et moi is the same thing as saying nous. We, all right. Drop your ER. Because it is the new form, we have to add the cedilla to give it that soft sound. S, effaçons. Christophe préfère parler. We do not conjugate this. Why? Because préfère is already conjugated. Last but not least, Alexandre et Delphine voyagent en été. They are traveling in the summer. Okay, it's a ger verb. However, we don't need to add an extra E. We're just going to drop that ER and add ENT to our ending. Why? Because Alexandre and Delphine is the same thing as saying il. Okay? Quickly recapping, remember your ger verbs. The new form will have the EONS ending instead of just ONS. Sir verbs, you have to include that little cedilla, the squiggly line there. The your verbs, the Y will change to an I only in the boot. To make a verb negative, you've got to put ne pas around your conjugated verb. Steps for conjugating, you got to write that subject, drop the ER, and add the appropriate ending. Your endings are E, ESE, ONS, EZ, ENT. Lastly, if there's more than one verb used with the subject pronoun, you only conjugate the first verb. If you have any questions, jot them down. Make sure you remember to write your summary, and these are due on next Tuesday. If you've made it this far in the presentation, I want you to go back through your notes and count how many verbs I conjugated in this presentation. Write that number in the bottom left corner. The bottom left corner of your notes. Thanks, guys.